male-centric hoes equal black feminists. Here's how I think it went down, and I can prove it. First Black Power movement. Black females join white female feminist movement. It backfires, so they create womanist movement. The fusion of which to feminism creates the incongruous, quote-unquote, strong black woman who has been beaten down by everyone, which is isolatory within itself. Let's skip the social consequences. Black women progressed in European education and got jobs. 70s and 80s this. Industries that previously could employ undereducated black men shut down. Mid-80s. Crack, etc. ripped the community apart. Jail and drive-by took what was left. Long story. Black women split. Successful black women and welfare black women. Each of them, quote-unquote, strong within their own right. One holding it down in the corporate world, the other holding it down, trying to, quote-unquote, survive in the ghetto, etc., etc. Black women reach TV. Oprah revolutionizes talk show. Mid-80s this. Faced with the realities of the ghetto, black men were failing. This is true. But is as much part of the race war as any mishap happening to black folk as a collective, or black women in particular, but yet and still is treated as suspicious and usually trivialized and parodied in the black male's case. Refer back to your own memory and common sense. 80s to 90s, the pervasive quote, black men ain't shit. The noughties, YouTube, the pervasive quote, black women ain't shit. The mid-noughties, the pervasive quote, black men keep putting black women down. Now, for a man to criticize women for not wanting him in male circles is seen as a weakness. We can't all be predatory dogs and crybabies at the same time. That doesn't make sense. Either one or the other. You can't have the predatory black man who fuck and duck and then have him being the man who can't get laid, externalizing his frustration. Those are two separate sets of dude. The predatory black men who fuck and duck, and then the black men who can't get laid and externalize their frustrations. Two separate sets of dudes. For a woman to stress not being able to get a man, since it's a dude who moves on the woman, it's not seen as a lack of prowess on the woman's part, but a lack of foresight and taste on the male's part. Hence that stupid CNN program about black women not being able to find men as a means of trying to embarrass black American men. I've never heard of no shit like that before in all my life. Mid-noughties. The 80s movements have resurfaced thanks to the internet, YouTube. Videos in circulation and thus easy to access talks, conferences, sermons, etc. A revival is witnessed and women start to make natural hair channels, the popularity of which rising by the day, aggregately. Mid-noughties, not the 90s, noughties. Black feminists, and I use that word loosely. Feminism is a mindset and not a professed political orientation or denomination. Saw the black movement. So black feminists saw the black movement and the prominent male scholars who themselves were working in appraisal of black women and sought to accost them. Hence women-loving people like Sarah Susan Seti and all of those very macho-type dudes, etc., etc. Claiming they just want to see their men rise, quote-unquote, and not see no more bitch black men. And yet who hated white women with black men. These white women being feminists, sexual liberation or radical feminists alike in nature. Black men being the thugs or so-called educated black men, themselves a product of the second wave feminism, which itself collapsed because of the incongruity of the second wave feminism having sexual liberation and radical feminists who argued against sexual exploitation together. And created, these black women created a path in which the white man struck the black community and the black man left the household, married the white women and dissed his woman. When what really happened was the white man struck the black community, the black man counterattacked, the white woman linked with the black woman, gassed her up and got her to isolate herself. Then took the black man wherever she could find him, and the black woman felt disrespected by that. And used that created path to extract tribute from apologetic black males, to extort tribute from apologetic black men, using their obedience to black women as a standard and marker of their quote-unquote Afrocentricity, and thus the true measure of their manliness and quote-unquote resistance to the white man, compelling us to defend the black woman even more fervently to preserve our manhood. The same manhood that the black woman dissed in the 70s, the same exact manhood that she dissed in the 70s when she tried to take over the black movements and let the white woman corrupt her and let feminism start this mess that we are currently in terms of I don't need no man and single parent households, which itself was quite frankly unthinkable under the patriarchy, if only because of the same reasons pertaining to the male ego, or the reasons pertaining to the same male ego that these women would cuss whenever the hell it suits them. Realizing that these black women, realizing that they did themselves no favors, these black women used higher incarceration, feminists created, I can prove it, ICP, drugs, ICP, I can prove it, tripled rates of murder in the black community, ICP, I can prove it, especially amongst younger males, 14 to 18. Black males abandoned to the educational system which dashes them to the side. These feminist sleeper black women in question used this and the anger it created within the black man, along with his need, his urge, his undying urge to redeem himself and thus quote-unquote resist the white man, which itself has as a marker obedience to black women, as we have seen. To sneak back, using this to sneak back into the black movement that they had previously tried to take over and then abandoned, having failed to take it over. Saying that these effects, crime, etc., everything I've stated, were not started, in fact, by feminism and those black women that embraced it and brought it into the black community, the hand that rocks the cradle and all that, but in fact, and actually, was started by the white man that the black man must now defeat. The failure to do so will reflect badly on the black man and highlight his quote-unquote weakness. The best and most effective means of doing so, not without the established and consented and conventional respect and reveration for the black goddess, quote-unquote, and apologizing for having, quote-unquote, abandoned her, thus manipulating the impetus and trying to redeem her. Hence a sense of entitlements right within black women in the black Afrocentric community, and the goddess culture developing there, which has become almost obscene in YouTube years. Most black dudes in the movement seek the redemption of black women before their own. How did that occur? When black women did not seek the redemption of black men before their own. One has to ask these questions. It's the feminists, black, who engineered that, and they are most unwelcome. You see, real black female redemptionists, as opposed to Afrocentrists, do not think their energy any more worth or less than the males, black males, and do not big themselves up every 5 minutes with lesbian poetry and art talking about how divine the black woman's beauty is. Now that's either lesbian shit or highly narcissistic. Is not normal, and yet is a matter of fact common occurrence within the Afrocentric movement. Real black female redemptionists don't hit out against anything else than whoever and whatever would try and seek to destroy the black family nucleus, which means that any mindset, however old, stemming from a hostile movement to the black family nucleus would be immediately snuffed out by them. And I know these women personally, and I know that many of them have left the Afrocentric community by simply refusing to go on the net anymore. Real talk. It's not just about judging people who quote-unquote demonize anyone else's point of view, in as much as it is judging a black woman who wears a weave to an Afrocentric convention, or a black man who arrives at an Afrocentric convention married to a white woman, or vice versa. When I have seen fire come under those people who would even try within said Afrocentric movements, without hearing or without them even seeking to hear any explanation. It's about identifying types, which for the sake of efficiency and record have been categorized. The whole Afrocentric movement deals with stereotype, as do most human beings. Bottom line, I don't like hoes, Afrocentric ones either, and I'm about 10 years younger than most people on here. I'm 21. And as a 16-year-old, I did not appreciate these quote-unquote hoes telling me that my manhood lay in redeeming them. No. My manhood lies in me redeeming me and protecting a family nucleus that these black ex-feminists plotted against in the name of Marxist feminism, and in the process just so happened to have destroyed. The rest, as they say, is air.